guys, this is Chelsea. Welcome to my channel. Today we're talking about films where Mother Nature is queen. I recently saw Twisters. You can check out my review here. And it got me thinking a lot about other films where Mother Nature is the main character and she's reminding us humans to stay humble and that we are nothing without her. So I have 6 films to get through. Let's go ahead and get started. So first up we have Lake Placid. This came out in 1999 and it's about this fictitious town in Maine where there's this creature wreaking havoc on this lake, and it's basically harming people in the town. It's unaliving a lot of them, and so scientists are called in as well as law enforcement to apprehend the creature. But what's really cool about this movie is that while you have the outside forces coming in to try to make this town safer, you also have those who are in the community who are trying to protect the creature and make sure that it can thrive in this ecosystem. So it's a really good commentary, I feel, about Mother Nature and how there's always this tension between wanting to protect her, allowing her to thrive, but also trying to protect the humans that live in that place, and so that they can both coexist. And it's a really good commentary on that, I feel, but it's also very funny. I feel like the relationship between the law enforcement and the scientists, they butt heads a lot, and there's a lot of egos involved, and they're trying to figure out the best way to make everyone safe. And I just feel like it's a really good movie that I don't hear people talk about a lot. And there's also Betty White is in it, so you can't go wrong there. Next we had Deep Blue Sea. This also came out in 1999, which is pretty cool. And we have Samuel L. Jackson, we have LL Cool J. It's kind of like a horror, also a thriller, I would say. And this is a story about sharks, and scientists are trying to figure out how the human brain works, and so they're doing tests on the sharks basically, and they're all in this underwater scientific lab. And so the sharks turn against them, they're becoming smarter and more intelligent, and they're able to, for example, swim backwards and recognize ammunition and guns. So they're trying to protect themselves against the humans, and the humans are trying to not only stay alive against the sharks, but they're also trying to protect their scientific research, and it just kind of goes from there. I really love this movie because I feel like when I first watched it, I really loved the graphics of it and how they were able to make these sharks look very realistic. I feel like now looking back, it might seem kind of cringy, but when it came out at that time, I was very impressed by it, and I was like, wow, these things are really scary. And I feel they did a really good job of bringing that world to life. And it's also a good movie because there's a lot going on at once. There's a lot of action going on. There's not really a lot of time for you to exhale and to have a break, so to speak. So it's a very horror movie in that way, but there's not a whole lot of gore, I would say. It's just more like a thriller, and it's very actiony, very edge of your seat, and it's really good to watch like with family on a late night or like with friends. Next we have The Happening. This is M. Night Shyamalan movie, and whenever I hear M. Night Shyamalan, I think unique, and this movie is definitely unique. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily a good movie, but I do feel like the premise is very interesting. And it stars Mark Wahlberg, and we are in a point in time where nature and plants and trees are able to emit these toxins into the air, which causes humans to unalive themselves. And I feel like it's a little bit too familiar because I remember reading a few articles recently about how plants are actually able to give off sound when they are, for example, underwater, which makes them very like sentient and very like conscious, which is very scary to me. So this came out in 2008, so this is very much ahead of its time in that way, and it's very freaky, the idea that this could actually happen like in the future. And so these toxins attack big groups of people, so it's like a mass unaliving of people, and it's a very humbling film because it reminds us that Mother Nature rules all and we're nothing without her. Next we have Wild. This came out in 2014. It was actually a book first, and I believe it's a true story actually, but it stars Reese Witherspoon, and she recently loses her mother and she decides to hike the PCH. Now she's not very experienced with nature, so she's doing this for the first time after losing her mother. She's exploring this landscape. The PCH is a very difficult trail to hike, I've heard, and so she's doing it alone while she's navigating the grief of her mother while she's in Mother Nature. So it's like very poignant in that way. And I read the book, and I read this a few years after my own mother passed away, which I'm very glad I did, because I'm sure if I read it right after, it would have broken me. But I really love this film because she's also trying to navigate who she is without her mother now, while navigating this whole new terrain, this whole new life that she has to lead without someone who she was very close to. And she's sort of figuring out who she is now as a person without your caretaker. So I remember also watching this film and her just struggling a lot with the basics of hiking, like putting up a tent and, you know, getting food and making sure you have the right shoes. But throughout this movie, she is very, very much intelligent to figure this out on her own. and her like hiking acumen, I suppose, and her ability to survive in nature just grows and grows as she builds its confidence in herself as well. So it's very dark though. This is a film that I would make sure that you're in the good mental space to watch and that you're not in like too low of a place, because it's a very deep film. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so next up we have Vertical Limit. This came out in 2000, and it's about hikers who are trying to climb a K2. So three of them go up because this rich guy is offering to pay them a lot of money. And on the way, they're like, oh, this is not safe. But of course, he wants to go anyway because, you know, hubris. And so they get closer, but then they fall into this chasm. And so they have to bring up more people from the base camp to come up and save them. And so they bring up 6 more people to save the 3, and actually it's a brother saving a sister as well, which is really beautiful to see. But I love this movie a lot because I feel like it's a commentary on, one, like listening to people and listening to experts when they tell you to not do things, especially in Mother Nature, where she can do whatever she wants, things can change at any moment. And if you don't listen to experts, you can get in big trouble. Although I guess if that wouldn't have happened, the movie would not have existed. So whatever. But it's really actiony. I feel like there's a lot of like crazy last minute saves. There's a lot of like unrealistic actions that happen, but it's really good. I feel like it's very on the edge of your seat, and it's a fun ride. So I would recommend seeing this movie if you haven't seen it yet. And lastly, we have Armageddon, 1998. Now, I definitely feel like this is a classic movie. It has a really good cast. We have Steve Buscemi, we have Liv Tyler, Bruce Willis. And so there's this asteroid that's heading for Earth, and they send up expert drillers to drill into the asteroid before it makes impact with Earth. And they're very underdog. It's a very ragtag team, but I really like it because it's a team of underdogs, and it's just people who are very good at their jobs, and they're sent up to save planet Earth. And there's also like a really cool father-daughter relationship, and there's also a really good romance as well. So it kind of has everything, and it is a longer movie, but I feel like it doesn't feel that long because it's very comedic. The space world that they create is very impressive, and it felt very realistic in a lot of ways. Also has a really good soundtrack. So, but yeah, those are the 6 films I have on this list. I'm sure there's a lot more, but these are just the ones that I remember most dearly to my heart and that I really love. So, thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your day, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.